The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers. United Chargers presents the Grizzly range of EV chargers. There's the original Grizzly Classic, a powerful, heavy-duty, portable EV charging station built to withstand the toughest conditions. The Grizzly Duo, a dual-port unit designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a small, portable charging station built with an indoor-outdoor rated cast aluminium enclosure. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. All Grizzly chargers come with a convenient 24-foot cable and the ability to adjust the current from 16 amps all the way up to 40 amps. That's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, they're IP67 rated. Built in Canada with the highest quality materials. Order yours now at unitedchargers.com. That's unitedchargers.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's October the 27th, 2023, and this is episode number 8. Thank you very much for joining us. On today's show, we'll be talking about Lexus and Infiniti, both debuting sedan concepts ahead of a 2026 production. General Motors and Honda canceling their $5 billion joint EV program. Toyota debuts an electric pickup truck and sports car concepts likely to become production vehicles, and of course much more. I'm Dominic Goni, host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic. Joining us today is the genial Mr. Tom Logney, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We also have the majestic Mr. Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, which is available on all the best podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle Connor joins us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Out of Spec Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a number of YouTube channels. And today that looks like the inside of an EV in Europe, I believe, actually. What EV are you in?
I'm in a BMW iX M60, the spicy one.
All right, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so great to see everybody. Good to have you all here. And let's kick it over to Martin now for the EV News Daily Weekly Reporting Roundup. Take it away, Martin.
We'll start with huge news. BP announcing the purchase of Tesla Superchargers to brand and operate themselves. First ones to do it. Now, it's a $100 million deal, which frankly is small change for BP, who made $72 billion last year. $100 million for them is like the money we find in our car looking for change at parking. We're like, oh, cool, didn't know I had that. That's the level of $100 million with BP. But let's talk about what they're doing and what this means. Marks the first time Tesla's charging hardware has been acquired for an independent EV charging network. It starts next year at locations under any BP brand umbrella. In Houston, Phoenix, LA, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., get the first superchargers branded BP. These are fast and reliable chargers, as we know, because the supercharger network just works. 250 kilowatts peak speed at the minute. That's going to go up with the V4s. These are V4s they've purchased, by the way. And it's crazy to see V4 Superchargers. We're just getting used to what they look like. And now we see them with the BP logo on. They're going to come with Magic Dock so that you can either have NACS or CCS, at least until everyone's over to NACS in 2025. And I think Magic Dock will stick around a little bit, but it is a bit of a sticking plaster in the interim period. The chargers will have plug and charge as well. Tesla's user interface and applications will feature the third-party chargers that Tesla say match the reliability and operational standards that Tesla set. This is key. One of the key things about this, Tesla saying, hey, we'll put your superchargers on our in-car maps and the nav, but if you don't operate them correctly, we're removing them. They'll still work, of course, but we don't endorse them, if you like. There's a huge incentive for companies to get these operating, not just, 95% uptime, but way higher than that. And BP say that they have improved recently. I've cancelled my BP Pulse membership a long time ago. I thought the network really, it stinks over here. Was my last experience. I haven't used it in years. It may have improved. Maybe I should use them again, but I just got totally bored of just turning up at places and whole stations being turned off. And I complained, I raised it, didn't get a response, cancelled my membership. And good luck to BP. They've got enough money to do this properly with BP Pulse if they want to. It's huge news for others that might want to go down the same route and purchase supercharger stations. Can you tell? I'm so excited about this. Nothing against the other hardware manufacturers, but we know Tesla's really good at this. And we know Tesla will say, sure, you can buy our hardware, but we're going to keep an eye on how you're running it. And you don't want to upset Tesla, let's face it. They've also launched more than 2,000 supercharger stations across the US, the milestone noted by supercharge.info, with the Tesla Mojave, California supercharger with 20 stalls hitting that target. That's on top of the recent one I told you about, the big target of 50,000 supercharger individual stalls installed, with that distinctively colored ultra red celebrating the event. And well done, Tesla. 14 years ago, we delivered the first Roadster to Europe, they say, and today we hit 1 million Tesla vehicles on the road across Europe. Thanks to our owners and supporters for helping us accelerate the transition to sustainable energy. Well done for 1 million vehicles. They've sold 5 million, so a fifth of their cars are on the road here in Europe. Moving on, Rivian announcing that their Georgia factory will go into production and construction in 2024. Initially, 200,000 vehicles annually. A second phase by the end of the decade. 400,000 vehicles annually is the production capacity there. That's huge. ChargePoint taking steps forward with the launch of their NACS connectors. AC chargers will get the NACS connector soon, and then next month in November, the DC chargers that ChargePoint roll out will have NACS connectors on natively. No adapters. Interesting stuff. The recently released owner's manual for the Highland Model 3 was a badge on the back. Is it a plaid badge? Is it a ludicrous badge? Speculation that it could be called a plaid or a ludicrous Model 3 with all the various hardware upgrades you would expect over the Model 3 Performance, or maybe it's a rebrand of Model 3 Performance. Notable that the Highland, so-called Highland Refresh Edition, isn't on sale in performance models yet. Ford issued a recall for the Mach-E. They've done this with software until now, but they realized that the overheating in the high voltage battery contactors couldn't be solved, even with that limiting that they were doing with the software, or at least extra diagnostics. And so, for those models from May to May, from 2020 to 2022, like the extended range rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and GT, back to your dealer, and they've got to have a hardware update which will solve the problem with what they call wide open pedal events and things like ultra fast charging, which lead to some of the overheating issues. Volkswagen is going to stop selling any combustion cars in Norway. Norway's leading the way, has been for years, and now we see a big name like VW saying, we're just not going to sell anything that burns things in Norway. Sold 1.1 million vehicles in the country. It's not the world's biggest car market. I always say this about Norway. It's more of an indicator than being something like Germany or France or the UK. However, in December, no VWs sold that don't have battery power. Okay, let's move on. Samsung confirming a new partnership with Hyundai to provide batteries, marking the first collaboration between these two major names. They're going to be prismatic batteries made in Hungary for Hyundai's European EVs starting in 2026. Stellantis rolled out their new EV van strategy. They want to get past Ford Pro by 2027. Key upgrades include more range and better charging. There's the small electric vans, the Citroën e-Berlingo, the Fiat e-Doblo, Opel Vauxhall Combo Electric, and the Peugeot e-Partner. 205 miles on those very small vans. Nice interiors like the big 10-inch infotainment display, 360-degree cameras. These are great places to go working, by the way. These are working vehicles. Also, the medium-duty electric vans get a 75 kilowatt-hour battery. That's like the e-Scudo, e-Dispatch from Citroën and the Vivaro. And then the large vans like the e-Ducato, the Movano, the Peugeot e-Boxster. They have got a 110 kilowatt-hour battery, 261 miles of range on a big van like this, 150 kilowatt DC fast charging. That is fantastic news. Thank you so much for watching. I tried to keep it brief, but I'm terrible at doing this. Our news summary. You can check out the EV News Daily podcast every day on your podcast apps. I got to get it back on YouTube. I know that. I'm so bad at this. But thank you very much. Let us know in the comments about what you think of any of the stories, and we'll get to some of these coming up later on Batteries Included.
I just love that jingle so much. I can't tell you. It makes me smile when that comes on.
It makes it. Absolutely makes it. Well done, Martin.
All right. Anytime.
So listen, Dom, before you jump into the podcast, I just want to answer one of the questions. Larry asked earlier about why are we doing our podcast at the same time in Inside EVs? Do we have some kind of feud? And that's not the case at all. Quite honestly, I'm still a senior editor at Inside EVs. I'll admit it's a little awkward sometimes because we decided that we wanted to do our own podcast with our own name and control all of the content. We didn't want to have somebody looking over our shoulders and telling us what we could and couldn't do. And quite honestly, I think the four of us have built a really good thing here, and we wanted to own that. And I think we had the right to. So we notified Inside EVs over the summer that we were going to do our own podcast. We told them we'd give you time to get your own thing going and decide what you wanted to do, which they decided they were going to continue. They got 4 new hosts. They're doing a great job. Alex, Hazel, Lacey, Patrick. I actually think they're doing a good job. But there is an issue that we decided to keep our podcast when we were always doing it. And that's my position on it. We started this podcast. We all decided, we picked the time. Inside EVs didn't tell us, you guys have to do it on Friday at 9:30 a.m. When we started the podcast, we said we were going to do it Friday because it works for Martin's in the UK, different time zone. Now, they have a few people from the UK, so the time zone thing also affects them. The day doesn't. And my position on it is, keep the this is my personal position, not the official batteries included position, but keep the time frame that you want, but do it on a day. It's only going to boost their ability to get some of our followers. We've built up this legion of followers, and we love you guys. And going head to head against us in the same day in the same time zone, the same time, I don't think is good strategy. I probably wouldn't do it if I was running that. But we wish them luck. Watch their podcast. Check out what they're doing over there. They're good people. They know cars. They know EVs. It's just, I think long term, they should probably move it to a different time frame. But that's my personal opinion. There's no war going on. We love those guys over there.
I still work for them as well. Like part of what they do is the motor racing side, and I host the Formula One podcasts for them on, it's a different bit of their business, but we're all still absolutely friends. I mentioned back in March earlier this year, Tom, you mentioned the summer. I said in March, it was around time. I knew it was going to be a crazy year. It was in the middle of just the last couple of weeks of Dad. We got the call to say that we could adopt a little girl. My personal life this year has been insane. For good and bad reasons, and with work and launching a business and stuff. So I think I said back in, it was either end of March or April, to be like, hey, I want to give you 6 months notice, but I'm going to try some different things in my life. And so, yeah, it's been really friendly and really amicable, and everyone's still friends. So, yeah, draw a line under that.
Well, I just want to say I really like what Inside EVs is doing over there editorially, like their writing team. They've got Patrick George now as a editor-in-chief, and he's just really, I think, really improved he's got some good writing over there and really on top of the news, and yeah. But let's move on with this show.
We're all having a massive fight and hate each other. Or you can choose. That would be more fun, wouldn't it? If for the viewers,
I guess
we are.
No,
we
I
all,
don't think
yeah.
so.
I mean, the four of us don't even get on. Like, we're just here smiling, but we hate each other, really. Believe that if you want.
I don't even know what to say to that. But Kyle, so you
Can't stand the guy. Get out of Europe.
Kyle's actually the best. But
Wait, you're not even in Europe. Didn't you guys leave?
Well, I sort of pick and choose when I want, really.
So Kyle, you are, like you told us, in a BMW iX M60 somewhere in Europe. So you rented this BMW iX M60 from Sixt, and I just wanted to mention that because you have a great video out, and we don't need to talk about this a whole lot, but you have a great video about going to Sixt and renting that, and then seeing all the cars they have for rent there, which is we have a lot of cool and funky cats EVs that we don't get here. So I did have one question about the iX, so and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say that people should go out and get the xDrive 50 instead of the M60? But you really seem to be enjoying that M60 though. So do you really still recommend the 50?
100%. Get the standard non-M60 iX. There's very, very little benefit to the M60, and maybe I should wait until I'm left Germany to tell you what I've done with this car. But it's been fun, lots of sideways action. Even though you can't like fully disable ESP, it's been very slippery out. It does some fun sideways stuff. The thermal performance on the Autobahn though is pretty brutal. It's not great. And so the big reason I got the M60 over the 50 was the 155 mile an hour top speed. I wanted to go full send, but you can't sustain that for that long because it overheats, and then you're doing 130, which is where it kind of likes to just sit. and the standard car does 130. So, okay, maybe
But
not
will
that.
but will the standard car do 130 and not overheat, or do you think it has the exact same cooling system?
Yeah, so you can do 130 without overheating in this one. It's just so I think the both cars should be okay. It also gives you an indication when it's the motor temperature or when it's the battery pack temperature
Oh,
difference.
nice.
After a charging session, the battery's the limit. Before a charging session, if you're being aggressive on it, becomes the motors. So it's not a big deal. Just get the 50. It's more comfortable, and you save quite a bit of money. The acceleration on the 50 is fine. And yeah, but you know, I'm certainly not minding my week with the M60. It's got the big sound system, great driver assistance, which works amazingly well here in Europe, and just absolutely loving it.
Cool. So I'm not sure. So where are you now? Actually, remind me again.
Oh, so I am in Hilden, which is just north of Cologne, and
Okay.
on my
In
way
Germany.
to, yep, on my
Yeah.
way to the Netherlands, driving there at the moment.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. I was thinking maybe you'd been there to the Netherlands already, but we can't talk about that yet. I guess
Oh, we can talk about it. That's fine.
we can mention what you're going. What are you going to do in the Netherlands?
Oh, I'm driving Model 3 Highland tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Looking
so
forward to this.
some friends of mine are taking delivery, and I thought, well, that's worth it. And then we were thinking Sunday, do some Nürburgring laps with it. Don't know if the timing will work because I have a flight booked on Sunday as well. So I don't know what hours Torstenfarten is and if that will all come together, but could be fun. We could at least get the first laps. It's not really a performance car, you know. It's not the Model 3 performance.
Sure.
I think they
Right.
just got a rear wheel drive, but either way, just fun stuff for sure.
The rear-wheel drive, is that with LFP?
Yep. So same drivetrain as far as I'm aware as the standard outgoing car.
Okay.
Kyle, on
There's-
Sunday, you said you have a flight. You coming back home, or are you going to France?
Jordan's going to France for
Okay.
the thing, but yeah, I'm going home because SEMA's this week. So I'm actually going to fly into Denver. I have to review a car in like 6 hours, and then I have to go to Las Vegas for SEMA this week, and then I'll be
Ooh.
driving to the East Coast for a whole bunch of other cool stuff.
That's right. You told me Jordan was going already. I forgot. Okay.
Yep.
I'll see
on.
him there.
So just before you left to go to England, you stopped in New York City, and you did this great video about a charging hub there. I forget, who's the name of the Revel charging hub, and that's Revel's a car sharing or ride sharing a company in New York City. They're based there, and they have a huge charging hub in this parking garage. But you also you also made a video about a 40 stall charging hub in Europe, and I believe you're at one right now, possibly, right?
Yeah, I'm at, I think, my favorite charging hub. Maybe I can even take the viewers for a quick walk around if you guys want to see the craziest charging station in the world.
Yes, please.
Every time I get to one, it's just crazier and crazier. Why don't I take you guys for a little walk? If we have time. Is that okay, Dominic? I know we got a schedule.
No, that's
So
it.
all right, hold on. I'm
I
gonna
want to see where you're at and what's going on.
all right.
I
I'm
mean,
already hot spotted. Here, full screen this, Martin. I'm gonna flip this thing around. Okay, so here I am. My iX M60 as an example. You can see a Model 3 pulling out just here in front of me. Just to show the viewers, here is the iX. I am at a place called Seed and Greet. This is, by the way, a custom electric van that they deliver bakery items in, charging here. And this is the charging hub, the Seed and Greet charging hub. There are, I don't know how many superchargers, but a ton. There's also a Neo battery swap station off to the right, as well as 2 megawatt hours worth of battery storage over this way, which is just crazy for peak demand. They also have their own wind turbine and solar over all of the buildings. There's 7 kilowatt chargers, 22 kilowatt chargers, and then FastNed also has a location here along with Tesla, and they have 400 kilowatt Alpitronic units. They also have Chico plugs, so this little Citroen iMe thing, the C0 is charging. I think this is Roland's car, the owner of this place. But this is also the first time that I've been able to see the new Alpitronic Hypercharger 400s, silicon carbide, 100 kilowatt bricks inside, all in one charger, just next level, absolutely insane. Genesis GB60 charging here, Cupra Born charging here, e-Golf on the level 2 charger that way. They also have pull-through stalls for trailers. Look at this little Peugeot E208. Very cool. Don't see anything like that in the US.
But here's a pull-through stall for towing on the 400 kilowatt hypercharger. And also Tesla over here has one for a truck or a truck and a trailer. Q4 e-tron coming through. Yeah, just absolutely crazy here. You can see the big solar inverters up top. I don't know how many hundreds of kilowatts of solar peak they have, but it's got to be a ton. So that's where I'm at. It's pretty freaking awesome. It's insane. So yeah, I don't know. Did I mention Neo battery swap? I'm going to film. I've already filmed a full video here, but I'm going to film another full video here now that it's kind of finalized. So just absolutely epic.
Yeah, like Doug Thomas says, we need sites like this in the U.S. I'm pretty jealous right now. I mean, that's nuts. I mean, imagine like a couple of these in like all our major cities, or a couple of these. I've actually a dozen or so of these, and I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm here for a couple hours because I got here slightly early. I've just been using the 22 kilowatt charger for the iX, which has been working great. And I don't actually even need to DC charge it because I've been here long enough. They have a cafe with a restaurant. I had pizza here. It was amazing. And just next level.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Got any questions about that place, Tom?
Well, how about price-wise, Kyle? Does it cost more for faster charging?
Yeah, so Tesla sets their own pricing and Fastned sets their own pricing. Honestly, I don't know what they are offhand because they change based off of location. But I feel like even the level 2 is quite expensive. I think I'm paying 40 cents per kilowatt hour for 22 kilowatt AC, 40 euro cents. But charging...
Is it the same per kilowatt hour if you were DC fast charging, or do they charge you a premium for that?
Yeah, I don't know what their rates are because they're all from different providers. So I'm just pulling up the Tesla app right now to look. And so I pay for, it's 44 cents per kilowatt hour Tesla, but it's just about to go to 50 cents. So yeah, it's more for fast charging in this case.
Sorry. Smidge 204 is asking, who paid for and operates this facility? You mentioned the owner of an iMev. Is that the owner of the whole installation?
Yeah, so the guy who owns Seed and Greet, Roland Schuler, I think is his name. Never met him, but know him from online. He was one of the first guys to ever buy a Tesla Roadster in Europe, like hardcore EV Tesla guy, owns a whole bunch of EVs. And so he basically, I guess, knew some people at Tesla and knew some people at Fastned and said, let's build something crazy. And it's this whole like sustainable thing. I have a full tour on out of spec reviews of it. Some things have been added, like the Neo battery swap station. Everything else is pretty much the same. The restaurant has a whole bunch of vegan options. I don't know. That's not my thing. I got a salami pizza, but it's all healthy, green, and EV owner-esque around here.
Salami sounds pretty good, I gotta say. So I wonder what the profitability situation is like. I don't imagine it's making money yet, but I wonder if I'd like to know if there's like a path to profitability, because it's got all the stuff you want, right? Solar and the battery storage and amenities like cafe and food.
Yeah, but keep in mind, like, he didn't have to pay to put in the superchargers or the Fastned spot because Tesla paid for that. And I think paid for like I don't know how the money all worked, but with so many people involved in such a heavy utilization site, I mean, this site gets used. The restaurant was jammed full when I went in there, and 70% of the chargers were full. Every single Fastned Alpitronic unit was taken, all of them. Before. So it's huge utilization here. You had a crossroads from all the Dutch people coming down, all the French people coming over. I mean, you're right in the middle of this crossroads north of Frankfurt. And so everyone comes here because what am I trying to say? Why would you want to charge your car anywhere else? This is the place to do it. And, so many people are out of their car taking photos. Even now, it's been here for a year or two. And I think if there ever was a case to be profitable, this might have it.
The profits in the food and coffee and everything. It's not in selling electric. Gas has a similar model. I used to own a commercial property, and my tenant was Quick Check, and that's a convenience store, and they're starting to install chargers now on the property. But for years they sell gas. They have gasoline in all their new installations, and they told me flat out their business model is to break even with the gas. They don't expect to make a profit. They just want to pay what it costs to operate it, and they make all their money with people stopping to get coffee and grab something to eat. And with gas, you're in and out. So it's a really quick purchase. But with EV charging, you're lingering, you're there longer. So you're going to spend more. And that's really that's the golden goose with a site like this. I still don't know how the standalone sites that don't offer amenities are going to really long-term make money with electricity, because it's very difficult business model. But this, you can see how this place is going to make its money. Like you said, it's filled inside, people spending money on food and beverages.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier in the news section at the beginning about BP making 72 billion and that 100 million on V4 Supercharger dispensers is
Right.
small change. And people in the comments saying, yeah, it was a PR move and bada, bada, bada. But hey, it's the first time Tesla have sold hardware to anybody else. And so it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But not for BP. It's small change. And people get upset at making $70 billion on selling on gas and stuff and petrol. And they're not. They're making $70 billion selling Cheetos. Let's face it. They're not making a huge amount of money. When you go, and certainly here, we've got huge taxes in Europe. I know it's less for you guys. Huge duty on selling fuel. And actually what the retailers, if it's a franchised retailer anyway, then they're not making a huge amount of money. And I'm not saying that I forgive the oil business for what they've done, but I'm just saying that all the money for those retailers is in everything that comes with stopping to get gas and petrol and diesel and the other bits and bobs. That's why the shops are full of all the overpriced, because it's convenience prices. And so the more that EV charging can do this, I've talked long about GridServe over here as well, and the amount of times that if I've got anywhere in the region of GridServe Braintree, GridServe Norwich, not sure if Gatwick is open yet, I know it's going to be the end of this year, if I'm anywhere near, of course I'm going to pull into that, because it's got a coffee shop, it's got a cafe, it's got free Wi-Fi, it's got USB charging for all my devices, it's got lovely toilets and showers, and and there's like 40 or 50 of them. So you're always going to get a space. And I don't really mind what the price, if the pricing is 50 pence or 60 pence, that incremental difference for the few road trips that I do, it's so worth the convenience. And I'll go and spend probably another £15 on the amenities they've got there. I think the way in Braintree's got like a little mini gym as well, which is just go on an exercise bike for 15 minutes while your car charges. So that's the key. And the more of these places that crop up, the more I'll stop at them every day, rather than just some sort of weird off-highway. And Tesla did a lot of that because of the land that Tesla could get in the early days. Tesla didn't pay for a lot of their land in the early days. Like I know cases where Tesla went to landowners and went, "We'll put a supercharger on your land," and they were like, "Great, what are you paying me, Elon?" They're like, "No, we don't pay you. You should be honored that we want to come and put superchargers where you are." Like that. I've heard of that happening, and landowners going, what? Especially the ones that don't get electric cars, being like, no, you can't have land for free. And some of them got it, and we're like, yeah, sure, welcome on. So that's there's so many costs involved.
Well, with 2 megawatt hours of storage there, I wonder if there's not a revenue stream dealing with the utility, like grid stabilization, or selling back a bit of power now,
Sure.
back and forth. I think like Tesla has a, what do you call that, a virtual grid situation set up, right? And that's function. That's in the UK, isn't it? The virtual grid.
The virtual power plant.
Yes, virtual power plant.
Yes, two of them operating now. I think a new one opened in Kent recently, which is the southeast outside London, using the Tesla technology. There's one near me, about 5 minutes walk that way, but it's not very big.
Right.
Again, they've got the mega packs.
But I think this is something that you can do with when you have like on-site storage like that, especially if you can hook them together, whatever. Anyway,
it's possible, Don, but look at how many plugs there are there. I know 2 megawatt hours sounds like a lot, but look at the amount of chargers. They might need that just to shave, the peak draw. So
true.
Well, they also only have a 5 megawatt connection to the grid that I was looking at. And they needed the batteries here to put this many chargers in. Yeah. And so it's that grid connection's just ripping all the time, and then everything's pulling off the batteries.
Cool. I would like to hear from the owner or whatever exactly how all that works. What's just the flow.
Yeah. So last time I was here, I researched how it all works, and I went through the whole power flow. So that's already on YouTube. But I want to talk about the pricing with Roland. I messaged him only a few minutes ago. I haven't heard back. Oh, maybe he just got back to me, and maybe not. Anyway, yeah. So I was like, hey, dude, I'm here if you want to make a video. Let's go. So, yeah, we'll see.
Right on. Well, we'll keep our eyes peeled up for that. So this week, Tom, you put out a piece on Inside EVs. Speaking of Inside EVs, for the video about the Cadillac Lyriq, asking if it can charge quickly enough for road trips. I think we've talked about this before in the past somewhat, but is there anything new on that?
So basically, if you remember, we talked about when I rented a Lyriq about 3 months ago, I did some DC fast charge recordings and the results weren't great. And I did them on Electrify America chargers. And a lot of people question, well, maybe the charger was malfunctioning. Maybe the connector was overheating and lowering the rate. Kyle had a little bit of a different experience when he had a Lyriq, but I don't think he charged it for as long as I did. I don't think he did a full charge session. So anyway, I rented the Lyriq again and I charged it a whole bunch of times on a bunch of different stations from 0 to 100 on Electrify America and then I did it on 350 kilowatt EV Go stations. And then I still haven't fully digested the 0 to 100 charge recordings. That's going to be a separate video. But what I did was I took a 20% to 80% session that I did on Electrify America, and I compared it to a 10 to 80% session that I did on a EV Go station, one that I know is reliable, that works whenever I'm going to use it. And the results were extremely similar. You can see the charging curve I have up there. It held a higher power a little bit longer on the Electrify America station, but it wasn't drawing as much power as it was on the EV Go station. You can tell those two charging curves are very similar. If you just pushed over the yellow line is the EV Go station for those watching on YouTube. If you just push that over a little bit, these two curves are extraordinarily similar. So the point is that they just the Lyriq and to a same degree the Hummer EV that I've tested, it just can't. I can't get a clean session where it just pulls power and slowly ramps down or pulls a straight line to 70% or 80%. There's always these extreme drop-offs where it'll charge for about 10 minutes and then drop way down to like 30 kilowatt and then slowly ramp up to somewhere around 80 or 90 kilowatt and hold that for a while. And then maybe it'll bounce down again, or it'll just hold it out. And I saw the same thing with the Hummers that I've charged at least 10 times now. And the bottom line is that GM just doesn't have the charging on the Ultium platform down pat yet. I'm sure it'll improve, but and they have pushed out a software update on the Lyriq since I did these recordings, and I'm getting mixed results. Some of my followers said I'm not noticing a difference. Another couple guys sent me an email saying, Tom, you need to recheck it because I'm noticing it holds for longer. But the thing is, whenever people comment like this on all of our charge recordings, I'm sure they believe what they're saying, but unless you map it out and record it, sometimes you don't really get the full picture. And unless you put it on paper, you might assume it's doing better, but you plugged in at a higher state of charge or the battery temperature was different. So in any event, I'm going to get another Lyriq. I can't get the one that I've been using because he moved down to Maryland, but I'm going to get another one and do some charge recordings. And I basically just wanted to talk about how many miles per minute it adds, and I do that at the end. You're going to get a decent miles added back in the first 10 or 15 minutes when you're charging a Lyriq. But after that, it really slows down. You're talking about somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 miles of range added for every minute. And that's horrible after you've been charging for about 15 minutes. So, GM's got some work to do on improving their charging curves, in my opinion. The vehicle goes far. I went 330 miles at 70 miles an hour, but
that's really great.
If you've got to them wait, it took me 40 minutes to go 20 to 80%, 48 minutes to go 10 to 80%. So that's just too long. They've got to get that, whether you're starting at 10 or 20% to 30%'s got to be at 30 minutes or less. It has to be in order if you really want a road trip. It should be closer to between 20 and 25 minutes, honestly, but 48 minutes to get to 80%, that's
not acceptable, really.
It's not acceptable. No,
not when your competition is like so much, like twice as fast. It's like not.
Tesla's,
no
you get them to 80% in under 30 minutes, all of them, no matter when you plug in.
Yep. Yeah, that's. I mean, 30 minutes is like as long as.
It's under.
I mean,
30 minutes.
I mean, the Lyriq has a larger battery than like a Model Y, but it's still. All right. So, Martin, you have anything electric this week? You driving anything?
No, nothing.
The MG? You had to take the MG out for
Yes.
stretch its legs, or did you sell that?
Still
Just
need to
kidding.
sell it. I'm really bad at selling cars.
I'm giving you a
Really
hard time.
bad.
I'm sorry.
At selling them. And yeah, what have I noticed this week? The battery 12 volt, the little yellow light on the front of the Kona, which means I think it means it's recharging the 12 volt. Like I read that on a forum once, and I presume it's true. I see that on a lot, so I wonder whether I've got a 12 volt problem incoming. You know, I had it a year ago, and couldn't get in the car. So I wonder if that's incoming. I'll keep an eye on that. Every time I walk past the car, the little yellow light's on. I'm like, is that just having to recharge the 12 volt? What's draining it? So I'll keep an eye on that.
Let me Google that for you.
I'll go
Little
back to the
yellow
forums
light
and see.
on Kona. All right. All right. And for myself, I haven't driven anything new this week, but I did put up my my second leg of my long road trip. Still lots to come with that, from New Orleans to Austin, Texas. So that's up there live now, and I have it in a playlist so you can like watch them together as they come out. But this week at the Japan Mobility Show, Lexus debuted the LFZC, which stands for Future Zero Emission Catalyst, a sleek luxury sedan. They didn't give us much in the way of technical details, but it's an important concept because they say it's actually going to be in production in 2026. So what they did say is that it will use an in-house operating system called Arene OS and boast next-generation prismatic high-performance batteries, which they say they aim to achieve about double the range of conventional BEVs, battery electric vehicles. I'm not sure. They don't say what they believe the range is for a conventional, so we don't know exactly what they're aiming for. But I would guess it's at least 500 miles. It would be 800 kilometers. So that's something about it at least. And they did say it will be made with giga casting, so the main body will consist of a separately cast front, center, and rear, similar to what Tesla is doing with the Model Y in Texas. And they also debuted a flagship concept SUV, the ZF-ZL, but they didn't make a production commitment, so we'll just have to wait to see how that develops. So meanwhile, it's Lexus, the biggest competitor to Lexus. So you can kind of take that car in. It's on the screen there if you're watching this on YouTube. But the biggest domestic competitor also debuted a sleek electric luxury sedan concept, which will be its first EV when it goes into production in the same year as that Lexus, 2026. So say hello to the Infiniti Vision QE sedan. So the contrast between these two cars, I don't think could be greater visually, taking into account that they're both low roof, fastback sedans. So whether the Lexus is like, to me, it's like a mess of confused character lines, but the lines of the Infiniti really flow smoothly from front to back. And to me, I think it's a very cohesive design. Say what you will about the front. I don't know. That could be polarizing. I don't know. I kind of like it. Unfortunately, Infiniti didn't release any technical details at all about the Vision QE, but it's known that Nissan and Infiniti will be producing 2 new EV models at its Canton, Mississippi plant in 2025. So it makes sense that this is likely a 2026 model. And Infiniti also says it has an electric SUV in the works as well, a QXEV or something. So I guess the question here has to be, are these too little too late? They'll have to go up against the likes of Mercedes EQS, Lucid Air, BMW i7, like to name a few. But what will Infiniti and Lexus have to do to compete against more established models? Tom?
What will they have to do to compete? They'll have to start making EVs and selling them. Okay,
Right.
This concept, it's great. Keep throwing the concepts out there. Put EVs in your showrooms, and you'll be competing. I mean,
sure, but I mean, it has, yeah. But so they put this in the showroom. So, like, say something like the BMW i7, it's already been out there for a few years. It's a known quantity. The market knows what it is. It's a great automobile. Like, Kyle loves it.
Well,
I haven't-
nobody knew what it was before it came out, though.
Right. So this shows up in the showrooms where people, if like a known quantity, the quality BMW i7, you look at Infiniti / Nissan's history, or Toyota Lexus with their cars. Not the greatest experience. I mean, the Aria is okay. I mean, a couple of big recalls, but the Toyotas, the BZ4X.
Well, there's a lot of people that like the Infiniti brand. Look, put out a car that looks nice, that goes far, that charges quickly at a reasonable price, and it's going to sell. People will give other brands a try, Dom, as long as it's a compelling product. That's it. Put a compelling product in your showroom, and you'll start to get market share. It's nobody knew who Tesla was before there was a Tesla. Nobody, people are buying their cars hand over fist now. So just start putting these cars in your showroom. Yeah, from day one, you're not gonna be outselling your ICE cars, but they have to start. They have to start putting decent products in the showroom. Get some people exposed to them. Get people comfortable with the fact that Infiniti makes electric vehicles, and they're good cars that drive well and go far and charge quickly, and they'll build a following of people that buy their electric vehicles. I mean, it's not rocket science. They can't. There's no special formula. Put out good vehicles at compelling prices, and people will come in. I don't think anybody will. I don't think it's a matter of they have to come up with some grand new scheme to figure out how to sell cars. They know how to sell cars. Just put something good in the showroom. They've been reluctant to do so far, but let's see. Hopefully this is a beginning of them pivoting and understanding that electric vehicles are the future of the automobile industry.
Right. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I have to throw it out there like that to you.
No,
Like
I know. I just, me and Kyle sometimes get a little short-tempered with these concepts, and it's just put the damn thing in the showroom. Stop showing us all these pictures of fancy cars that you're never going to make look exactly like that, and just start putting cars in showrooms.
Right. So I know there's a lot of skepticism, say, around like Toyota, because they've been so slow and their first product isn't great. But like, if you see, there was a poll a couple weeks ago. What's the most trusted brand of EV that you would like to buy? I think Toyota beat out Tesla, didn't it? I think it was like,
yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen polls where people say who makes the best EVs, and
Right,
Toyota's number one. That was even before they put out the BZ4X. So, that's perception and reality could be two different things. Toyota has a good reputation. So does Infiniti.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm partial to Infiniti. I kind of like what they do. Do you have some thoughts on this, Kyle?
I really don't want to talk about this.
Good.
Okay. All right. Well, we can move on. I'm not sure if there's anything else really to say. I think we covered most of it anyway. But yeah, I think I like the Infiniti. I really hope they can bring
That's
it
the
to.
first time anyone's ever said that about an Infiniti, by the way.
Really? Oh, I like some of their cars, and some of their older combustion cars have great sound. I'm not sure I don't know what the engine code is for them. I can't really talk about that. I forget, but I hear them on the street sometime, and I like the
Nissan VQ engine that they stuffed in an Infiniti. That is not a good sounding engine. That's like one of the worst sounding engines. What are you talking about? They sound like trumpets. Dom, we got to work on your car enthusiasm realm a little bit here. This is not good. Not good. And also, why are we talking about concept cars when Tesla literally opened up the network to like sell their chargers to other people? Like, that seems freaking awesome to me.
It is awesome. That is freaking awesome.
But that should be our title. We have Lexus and Infiniti pitch competing concepts, which weird concepts.
Yeah, I mean, but I put them there because so this week is a Japan mobility show, and there are a freaking ton of concepts out there. But some of them are like in the shot, like in some that one Nissan SUV they talk about a little bit. It's like back in the shadows of an image. I don't even know if there's a physical thing. But so I did not mention any of those cars. These ones seem closer to production, or they've stated.
I'm just giving you crap for it because, like Tom said, that's what we have to do.
Okay.
Anytime a concept's involved, we're going to get angry.
Okay. Okay, I'll stop sweating it then. Let's see. Let's move on a little bit then, because so speaking of Japanese automakers and being behind a little bit behind maybe on electric vehicles, Honda has halted plans to develop a smaller, more affordable EVs in a $5 billion program with General Motors. I was going to say Electric Motors. Originally, they agreed to this in 2022, April of 2022, and Honda CEO Toshihiro Mibe says the reason was a changing business environment. He said they studied the plan for a year or so before deciding to go their own way. And for its own part, General Motors says, after extensive studies and analysis, we have come to a mutual decision to discontinue the program. So it sounds like they're still friends, but so GM and Honda are continuing to work together on the Honda Prologue and Acura ZDX, which will be built on the Ultium architecture. So General Motors doesn't really need Honda for this. It's already got the Chevy Bolt EV, which it plans to make it in the future again with the Ultium LFP battery pack, and it will still slot under the Equinox price-wise, maybe hopefully below $30,000. Honda, though, despite selling the Honda E, a small hatchback, and then showing off another small hatch concept a few weeks ago called the Sustana C, seems to be struggling with building small cars with decent range, small electric cars. So, Kyle, GM is having its struggles, but at least they have a product in the pipeline, even if it's delayed. And it seems like its DC fast charging is far from class leading. I don't know, what does Honda have to do to have some success in the electric space?
Honda has to rethink their entire business model, their entire car line, because even if you look at the combustion cars, the Honda market share seems to be decreasing in general. And, they need an entire overhaul. People don't appreciate Japanese engineering like they used to. And certainly they're showing they can't engineer anything amazing from the EV space because all of their cars honestly suck from the whole country in the electric world. So they really have to do a 180 on everything they're doing. So maybe it's a good thing they're halting this, because if you're going to partner with a brand to build electric cars, GM doesn't seem like it at the moment. And so they just need to go their own ways. Like Sam is saying here, I totally agree. They need to really think about this as a high level, back up, get out of the minutia of how, you think electric cars are used. Look at what the future of transportation will look like in the target markets where you're going to put the cars into, and then you have the goals right there, your design goals for the vehicle, and then build it. And if it happens to come out expensive, well, compromise on price, but I don't think you should compromise on a usable product, which is what they seemingly have done. They've made a car with no range, with very poor charging, and it's very expensive, the Honda E, which I love the Honda E, but just like did not meet the needs of the consumer, which is why you never see them around.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering if GM struggle with their Ultium charging, if that's like a technical thing that Honda looked at and was part of this whole decision. I'm like, is that too far out there?
I don't think the companies really care so much about DC charging, or they could make the car charge better if that was such a big deal. I don't think that would blow up a whole conversation between them. Martin, you're much better company analyst than I am. Is DC charging performance seems like something that they could easily fix in the design iteration process of a car.
Yeah, it's really confusing, some of the steps these companies are taking at the minute, because they've all got the right people working for them, and I think they're all terrified that Tesla arrived and showed them how to do it, and everyone said, "What's this upstart car maker? They're never going to be profitable." And Elon's posting, bankrupt memes, and then they've sold 5 million pure electric vehicles, and then everyone went, "Oh crud! Let's all go make electric vehicles," and just added announcement after announcement after announcement in terms of capacity and gigafactory after gigafactory. And then the wait times went from 18 months, because it was at one point 18 months a couple of years ago to get hold of a brand new, I think Audi was one of the really long ones, And then supply and demand, which was all a bit wonky, they sorted it all out, and now you can walk into a car showroom just like you can with any combustion car. Dealers have them on the lots, and you go, oh, I'd like that one, please, because they've got some in stock. And now everyone's going, a lot of the car makers as well, they're trying to sort of read their 10, 15-year plans and going like, oh no, no one's buying EVs anymore. Stop, stop, stop. And you know what? In 2 years' time, when we get through this this adjustment phase that we're going through, and it is just a readjustment, and you know, Tesla's not sold 5 million, but they've sold 10 million vehicles, everyone's going to go, let's make EVs, everyone. That's exactly what's going to happen. At the minute, the car companies are being run by the CFOs, and the CFOs make a really, really strong case of, we just spent $9 billion here, and we've got EVs sitting on lots. Yeah, but you had combustion cars sitting on lots. It's called a dealer network. It's you want the business that way. You want dealers. It's how it works. And so dealers have finally got stock. You're right. It's so funny watching the industry at the moment that it's sort of 2 years ago, I feel like the CTO was leading the way and the board were going, okay, we'll just make electric cars. We don't want to be left behind by Tesla. And I think that this year, the CFO's having her or his moment. And I think in 2 years' time, all these car companies are going to be, again, so far behind those that have gone no compromising on EVs.
Right.
And they'll be playing catch up again in 2 years' time.
The biggest thing that concerns me out of this isn't that they're seemingly like, walking back their partnership. It's Honda's statement that we have abandoned our plans to make an affordable EV. That's flat out what the CEO said. We are abandoning our plans to make an affordable. It's not that we're abandoning our plans with GM. We are not going to make an affordable EV.
Oh,
that was
But
more.
should we care? Because there's going to be other affordable EVs on the market.
And they're going to be they're going to be Chinese, not Japanese.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But
And that's
Honda
the Japanese, and
makes
that's the Japanese
affordable
car
cars.
industry.
Like Honda's not a premium automaker. Their whole ethos is making affordable transportation, but they're not going to make an affordable EV. So that's doesn't bode well for Honda, in my opinion.
Look, we had news this week about the Stellantis cars, the small city ones, like the little Citroën EC3, and that's going to come to market with a £20,000, 20,000 euro price tag, and then they'll make a smaller battery version of that. And we did I can't think whether we've broadcast it or published it yet, but we did a battery bargain show, and my mind is so fuzzy, but one of our viewers said, hey, I'm looking for a second car that does 30 miles. And I'm like, yeah, that's what the car industry don't understand. I've got EVs that go 300 miles. I've got an EV like the MG that will probably do about 150 miles with 44 kilowatt hour battery. But when I sell the MG, I'll probably add something interesting to the driveway. It might be, I love the convertible smart cars. I really want the soft top smart, really do. And they're not crazy prices. And I'll have one that does because my first Zoe, the 22 kilowatt hours Zoe was like 90 miles. And you wait till it gets that battery pack did not like the cold. Like the first time I got in it on a January morning and it was -5, and the Zoe said something like 60 miles range. I'm like, wah! I've got to explain to my wife why her car. But it doesn't matter because if that's your second or third or second car in the driveway that you used to do errands with, and it's cars that are fit for purpose and the use case therefore. And yes, we need Lucids that do 500 miles. And yes, we need Rivians and F-150s and trucks that are going to knock on 400 miles plus. But we also need cars that if they do 100 miles, that's okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
That's also okay.
It's weird that I don't think Honda have a besides the Honda E. That's they sell it in Japan, I guess, as well. But that's kind of expensive.
That's it.
And I don't think it's selling a lot. On the contrary, Nissan, which we give them a hard time, but they actually sell the Nissan Sakura, which it's a small K-van, like a small van, I guess you could call it. And I guess that's selling pretty well in Japan right now.
But they also have the Honda E Anyone.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that electric?
Yeah, and it's in Europe or on sale.
Oh, okay.
I heard it's really crappy, but it's on sale.
It's
Really?
yeah.
I mean,
what is it? I think it was the
It's the E:(NY1.
yes,
which
the
is a
E
terrible
anyone. And
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't driven this. I haven't got any friends that have driven this, but I did read the Autocar article on it because I like Autocar, Auto Express, all good magazines, by the way.
Yeah.
I think they were really generous with 3 stars out of 5. I think maybe
Mm.
I'd hate to be a publisher of that ran advertisements from car companies, because if you're sitting around a table going, well, we can't give it a 1, we can't give it a 2, and I'm sure that editorial and advertising are entirely separate in every large publishing company, and that
Right.
that their star ratings are never ever decided by advertisers. But I mean, I think they were really generous with a 3, by the way, 3 stars out of 5, because it was just like, and I think there was one really big thing. It was either the thermal performance or it was the peak charge speed, or it was the curve or something. It was really dreadful. And they're like, yeah, so that's a bit bad.
Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that
and
one.
Bjorn has a bunch of videos coming. I haven't checked them out yet, but I plan to. Huge Bjorn fan, of course, so he'll have all the content our audience wants. Just go to Bjorn's channel; he'll have it.
All right. So I just wanted to go back to Japan for a minute, to the mobility show, and talk about, and we'll skip forward again to the other stuff again, Kyle.
Yeah, because there's so many bad things happening in Japan in the auto industry, and that's this show.
So right. So is this Toyota Ipu?
The name is Ipu. What? Why are we talking? No one wants to know about Japanese cars.
Well, I mean, I do if they're coming here, and I think this is going to actually come here, and it's a vehicle that I want. I would like buy this thing. So, except I mean, the name is really bad, but it stands for electric pickup, EPU. And it's like, I don't know. Toyota has a weird thing with their 3-letter acronyms, like the TRD performance thing. Like, it triggers me every time I want to add a U to it. Anyway, so it's a terrible name. But this compact electric pickup could be what everyone's been asking for years. It's a unibody small truck, like its competitors, the Ford Maverick or the Hyundai Santa Cruz, and it's got a cool pass through between the bed and the cab, which allows it to carry loads up to 8 feet long. Despite its finished look, though, they say production isn't guaranteed. They've been working on developing this for like 3 years at least. They're still saying the production isn't guaranteed, and they want to see and that depends on the reaction to the truck, like from, I guess, us and the crowds or whatever. So, Martin, putting aside your feelings about Toyota, what is your reaction, just your gut reaction to this pickup truck?
I mean, I've increasingly thought I'd really like a pickup truck. Having I went somewhere that they'd imported a Rivian and F-150 to the UK, and both look silly large on our roads. But I've increasingly been thinking I really, really want I've got no use for a pickup. I think, like most pickup drivers, some of them anyway. And but I really want one. So yeah, absolutely. I think the more segments that go EV, the better. One of our commenters pointed out that the so-called sort of softening or the rebalancing, where there's not a year-long wait for EVs anymore, that the supply and demand is even up. One of the guys or girls in the comments pointed out that Akio Toyoda, who is still chairman of the company, by the way, missed no beat at the Japanese auto show to say, we were right, we told you so, we've been saying for years that EVs won't work, we made a terrible one in the BZ4X, and hey, no one bought it, we told you so, we were right, what's wrong with hybrids? And I thought it was just a really weird place to do a victory dance. Like, okay, so EVs have failed. Have they? Is that it? Should we just all go home, turn the lights off? No, there's just been a rebalancing of supply and demand, and the automakers knew there was a strike on the horizon. They absolutely loaded up with EVs because people want EVs, and so they prioritized making those in early summer. The UAW strike happened. It meant that you could still buy an electric car. Other ones, factories got affected by the strikes, but they had EVs in stock, and so that's what's happened. And that's why you're seeing EVs on dealer lots, and that's why you can get one from Tesla, because they've got 1 million of them coming out of Shanghai every single year. And yet Mr. Toyota there, or Akio Toyota, decided to take a bit of a victory lap and go, we told you, no one wants EVs. Listen to us. We knew we were right all along. So I have very, very little time for when someone just celebrates making combustion stuff. And I'm like, man. I mean, hey, good on you. You carry on driving your cars past, kids' primary schools and spewing out combustion and giving people lung disease. That's cool. Well done, sir. Well done. You sleep well at night, sir, Mr. Toyota. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he's got a great bed. I'm sure his house is. He does just fine. I reckon he sleeps really well at night. Of all the people that sleep well, I reckon he sleeps really well.
I hear you. I get pretty frustrated.
Oh, everyone's heard this speech, by the way. I watched last week's show back and thought my Toyota speech was far too long. I'm like, oh my god, everyone's heard that before. I'm not doing it again. I'm gonna not say the T word until New Year's Day. That's it. Don't ask me again.
Well, I do want to talk about something like related to this one. I want to keep going, but I did want to get Tom's
I'm not doing it
on this truck real quick. Tom,
it's not in production. It's not in production. You can't walk into a showroom and have a look at one. So there's no point.
Right.
So the size is nice. That small, the pickup truck size. But Toyota doesn't need to rethink their trucks. They already make great trucks. The Tacoma's a great vehicle. Just make an electric Tacoma. Real easy. Done. Right. Case closed. Put that out there. They'd sell the hell out of them. I would have bought one for sure. I've owned like 6 Toyota Tacomas, and I would have bought one. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. Toyota makes very good pickup trucks. The Tacoma dominates that segment, that size of a pickup truck. They dominate it, and just make an electric version.
Well, I think they're going to. But they're going to have.
Oh, they're going to. Of course, they're going
to. They could have like the mid-size, and then they could have like the compact.
Yeah, they could have 5 sizes. Just make a damn electric Tacoma and start from there. They just made a whole new Tacoma this year. It's totally refreshed. Right. Yeah, they could have. This would have been the perfect opportunity, and then put it out there and see what customers like. Mm-hmm. Even if it costs more, that's fine. But just give people an option. But no, oh look, we're thinking about making this electric pickup truck. It's the right size. It's going to come at the right time. Just put out an electric Tacoma. People would have bought the hell out of it, in my opinion.
I'm hoping they at least have a prime version, like a plug-in hybrid electric version of this, the new Tacoma. No word about that. I guess we'll see.
No. I didn't hear that. If they do, they haven't announced anything like that yet.
No, I haven't heard any announcements. No, but that would be like the minimum kind of thing that they would need to do, to kind of, further things along. They did such a great job with the Prime, with the RAV4 Prime. I guess they're not. I don't know. I don't really hear a lot about that truck in the US. Even it's like one of their quickest vehicles. It's super great. You don't really need to burn a whole lot of gas. It's got great range, but we don't really hear anything about it. I know the supply was limited for a long time, but I don't know if that's still the case. Have you heard something, Kyle?
It's the case because they don't want to make a lot of them.
They do not want to sell them.
Okay.
They don't want to sell them. They don't. The people who buy them don't really understand them. Some people love them. I know some owners that absolutely love them. I enjoyed the car when I drove it. Thought it was freaking awesome. And then you're like, oh, they're only bringing in 5,000 in the first year, and I don't know what it was the second year. But yeah, they obviously don't want to do it.
Well, let's talk about somebody else then. So GM is cutting back its goals. There seems to be a lot of naysaying and doubt, and a whole lot of I saw there was a headline in Business Insider or something the other day that EVs don't work or something to that effect. There's a whole lot of problems because the market's slowing down. The retail market, there are a lot of automakers chopping prices. You can get good deals on EVs right now below MSRP by like thousands in some cases. And GM is cutting. I don't know what's going on exactly there, but the Equinox is delayed by a few weeks, so it's only going to be at least a few weeks. I think it's probably a bit more than that. They're saying now instead of coming out by the end of this year, it's only going to be out early in 2024. So that's like a small pushback there. The Blazer customers are receiving Blazers already, but you can't order them through the site, or there's like a whole lack of information on the site. It's like GM seems in total disarray right now. I don't know.
It's hard to use GM as the barometer here, Dom, because we don't know what's going on with Ultium, really. Are they abandoning that goal because they don't think that people will sell them, or are they abandoning that goal because they've got some real issues with Ultium platform? And we don't really know. Every Ultium vehicle has been delayed, the launch of the vehicle. So I more take that as they have serious problems with this with Ultium, more so than saying, well, we're going to hold off a little bit because we see the market is softening. I don't think that that's the case at all. And the whole market softening thing, I know a lot of people talk about that. And yes, it appears to be. There's a lot of reasons that contribute to that. Number one, more EVs are being made now than ever. Okay, so the supply is going up dramatically. The automakers are starting to produce them in bigger numbers. Ford's making many more Lightning than they used to. They doubled production of Mach-E's over, I think, this time last year. So the supply's bigger, and with a greater supply, it might be starting to slowly outpace demand. There's still a tremendous amount of people that aren't ready for electric vehicles yet. This is going to be a slow rollout. It's not going to be like, oh, all of our followers here want EVs, so everybody does. No, every year a certain increment of the population is going to be more open to it. So I think that's part of it. I think it's also possible that some people aren't buying EVs now because they're waiting for the NACS to be native on the vehicle. I know my followers have told me, Tom, I was going to buy an EV this year, but I'm going to wait till 2025 because I want my vehicle to have a native NACS port. So I think there's a lot of contributing factors here. The supply is getting bigger. People are holding off for that next EV or that next or the transition to NACS. And what's so bad about not being able to charge over MSRP and for the dealers to have to start discounting the vehicles like they've had to do with all of their ICE vehicles forever. So, maybe things are just starting to stabilize and we'll see continued, maybe the growth's going to be a little bit slower than what it was the last couple of years, which we were seeing exponential growth year over year for electric vehicles. So we'll see. It's too short of a period, in my opinion, of this quote unquote slowdown to really understand why it's happening and if it's going to continue.
Can I have a little say from a European perspective? Firstly, I've got 2 points. Firstly, these publishers that rely on clicks, and we don't, this podcast doesn't, none of us, this is not our business in selling clicks. There's good money and there's a good chunk of the population, not just the American politics or European politics, of people who are interested in EV bashing articles. And we've seen it, I think, over the last 9 months, since the beginning of the year. It really got ratcheted up. There's a huge amount of non-stories. I see articles in newspapers along the lines of 4 out of 5 mechanics say that there's a problem with EV batteries. And you read it, and there's no news. No one's made a study or a piece of news or an announcement or a car maker. It is simply opinion pieces or it's just made up. So there's nothing. But there's certain news channels. You have them in the US. We have them here as well. There are certain news channels that say they broadcast news and they're entertainment. A lot of newspapers and publishers that sell on eyeballs do well with negative news. Negative news spreads quicker than positive news and does better. And I'm, from a country that has 6-7% inflation rate right now, Carl flip-flops over the Atlantic from Europe to the US and he sees this. The US economy is on a rip. And I can tell you that I watch it. And yesterday, your data numbers came out yesterday. The US economy showed a 22-year peak interest rates, and yet a Q3 that had a 4.9% GDP growth in the quarter alone. That was up from Q2's 2.1 and overshooting any prediction. All of the predictions were going to be awful from these economists that are paid so well to know what's going on. They were pretty like low 4s, and your US economy came out almost 5% growth on the quarter. Consumer spending is up. I'm watching, online about people are spending hundreds of dollars to Taylor Swift gigs and Beyonce concerts, and the world goes mad for, Barbie movies, and everyone's going out for meals and enjoying themselves. I don't look across the Atlantic and see a US economy in trouble. I see one that we envy. And we keep being told we're heading into recession. EVs aren't going to be bought because we're going to go for a year. We've got, the US economy. Recession's just around the corner. No one's going to buy an electric car and discretionary purchases. And your economy is on a rip. And we envy it. So can we just get away from this negative sentiment? It feels like the whole podcast today.
Oh,
Martin,
sorry. You're frozen. Oh, it's me.
Oh, okay. It feels like this whole podcast today has kind of been giving oxygen to these negative bits of news. Like GM screwed up and that's their problem. But let's not say it's indicative of the whole EV industry. There's a rebalancing going on here. But let's not write the EV industry off just because maybe GM got their predictions wrong, or Honda have backed out of something, or Ford have been dealing with strikes and are kind of going, oh, blimey, okay. Like, I get it, but hey, let's take a reality check here. Your economy is in brutally good health.
I think the interest rate there is something to that. It went up, quite a bit earlier in the year, and it didn't really slow down car buying, but I think it has caught up with it now. It could, because that interest rate is impacting people's like mortgages and student loans, so it makes their car buying budget smaller as well. So
I'm not pretending your monthly payments aren't high.
Right.
I'm not pretending that the delinquency rates of car loans hasn't hit a new high. The amount of subprime lending to people on car loans isn't an all-time high, and people are missing payments. I'm not pretending any of those things aren't happening in your economy, but your economy is really, really good, and you shouldn't believe all of these negative articles that rely on you clicking on it and feeling this outrage. It's just not true.
Right. And we have that problem here too. But like you say, our economy is, by the numbers, doing really good. But if you ask half the people in the country, it's terrible. It's in the toilet. Like, our economy, we're almost bankrupt. I don't know.
Well, pick where you get your news from.
I think that's a lot of the issue, really. Like you say, media is not. I don't know. That's a whole another rant. But
sorry.
No, that's great.
So anyway, I'm sitting at a charging station,
Yes!
charging my car, and have to say how nice it is to have 22 kilowatt charging in Europe. So something that's very rare in the US is very common here. 3-phase, 32 amp, absolutely sending it, and have been doing quite a bit of 3-phase charging during this year in Europe, and I just wish we had that in the US. So forget about the economy, bring 3-phase charging to the US.
Absolutely.
I'm doing almost that good right here, Kyle.
Oh,
yeah, but think about your losses at 80 amp versus
yeah.
me at 32.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Sure.
What do you think the losses differences are?
Well, it's exponential. So, I squared R. So you would have a significant more amount of heat loss with Tom's 80 amp unit than I would have with an equivalent 32 amp. But that goes on and on because it's how tight are the screws? Is there extra resistance in there? It would be so hard to know without doing a side-by-side.
And we all carry, we are just used to carrying our Type 2 cables in the boot. So it's, we have a lot of charging dispensers. Yeah, we have a lot of dispensers around here that are just 22 kilowatt posts that are just the post. But everyone has a cable in their boot, and it's different where you are because a lot of it's more tethered.
Yeah, but I don't think I like the whole cable in the trunk thing because it's
don't
always
like that.
under my suitcase or it's like under the floor and I have like something in there. And
But
have,
I do like it. I disagree. I like it. I wish we had that here. I know
Okay.
I keep my cable clean. You don't have to worry about it being cable thieves in the middle of the night coming and cutting off all the cables on your public chargers. I bring handy wipes when I'm charging in public half the time and clean off the connectors and stuff before I grab them and use them. If I was using my own cable, it'd be nice and neat kept in my bag. It wouldn't be like Kyle under 20 Starbucks cups with and dust and everything with no cap on it. I replace the cap on top of the connector every time I use it so dust doesn't get in there. So for me it works, and I wish we had that here. I wish we carried the cables with us. It wouldn't be all destroyed, like laying on the ground.
Destroyed because I would run it over. I'd leave it at other stations, and I give zero. My view on equipment is I don't try and take care of my equipment. My laptop fell out of the car the other day. I just use everything to its maximum capability and then replace it when it's broken. I don't. I'm not here wrapping up the cable when I'm waiting to go somewhere. But Tom, I know you're OCD about these things. Everything you go to Tom's house, every table in his garage is perfectly wrapped, and I'm like, what the heck? I have 2 chargers in my garage, and the cables are like over the car, and one's under a tire, and I've parked it on the handle. But I thought, whatever, I'll just leave it.
Yeah.
So
I do. I must admit to the OCD stuff. There's this coffee shop I go to every morning here in town, and I have a whole bunch of friends. We all meet there in the morning. And when I go in, I rearrange. She has like a display case with like yogurts and eggs and everything. Before I even get my coffee, I arrange it all and put all the labels facing forward and make it all nice and organized. Everybody makes fun of me.
Oh, by the way,
did you work in retail?
Do you guys see this one? This is an i4, but good spec, completely blacked out. Oh yeah, it looks really nice. This particular one, really like it.
Man, I,
I was just gonna say your i4 looks amazing. Oh, you bought it because of us. That's awesome. Oh, well, here he's a podcast viewer. How about that? So you're on the podcast, and it's an M50. It's a spicy one. Hell yeah! Just 4 weeks old. What's the top speed?
I have to check.
Oh, we have to go out now and try it. Yes. So nice to meet you. Yeah, I'll say hi after the show. So that's the thing. You make YouTube videos and you meet cool people.
Welcome to Kyle's life.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
we
He was
bought our car
watching-
because of you.
Yeah, and he was watching our show and he heard that I was here, so he came by to say. And I just saw it
Awesome.
like there's a million cars coming in and out of this parking lot, but I thought, oh, good spec on that one.
right, nice one. Right.
Very
Sweet.
nice.
Yeah, that does look good.
Oh man, so let's talk about chargers then, I guess. So like we were mentioned at the top of the show during the EV News Daily Weekly Reporting Roundup. Martin mentioned that BP has spent like $100 million on superchargers, on Tesla V4 superchargers that they're going to install, I guess, at their own businesses. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they've
Is
got
that-
the land. I mean, you think about the fuel retail industry. They've got the land. They've got often the grid connections. If not what they need, they've got a pretty chunky grid connection, especially in urban areas. This land is so expensive that they're on, and if it would be built on if it wasn't a petrol station, and they're gonna put V4 dispensers in, and that's such a good move. It's going to be great for ICE drivers coming in, and they're filling up at the minute. Some of them might have seen EV chargers, or some of them believe these terrible news articles that EVs take an hour to charge. And they're going to be pulling in and seeing rows and rows of these electric cars charging as they go to get their gas. And they'll be thinking, maybe I should have a look at that because it looks okay. And what I find, I said this in the intro, what I find more interesting is Tesla adding any third party, and BP's the first. It's going to be like next. There's going to be a host of these announcements, no doubt, coming. From anyone that buys Tesla hardware now, and I love it. And we'll add you to our navigation and routing and all that kind of stuff. But if your network's not very good, we'll take you off. Yeah, so that's brilliant. I like that. What a great gatekeeper moment for Tesla. And I trust them because they've got very high standards. Now, BP would point out they've got 97, 98% uptime on BP Pulse. It's somewhere like that. I haven't looked at the latest figures. And so they'll say, hey, we're doing okay. But this is a brilliant piece of news.
I think it's pretty good for Tesla. They say selling our fast charging hardware is a new step for us, and one we're looking to expand. That's Rebecca Tanucci. She's the senior director for charging infrastructure at Tesla. So this is coming to the States. So the first of these will be installed in Houston, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Washington. And it's just part of BP Pulse plans to invest $1 billion in charging stations across the U.S. by 2030. And so this is a new revenue stream for Tesla. I'm not sure what kind of profit margin they're making on this, but Tesla makes their own chargers themselves, like en masse. Like it's like mass production of chargers like nobody else, I think. And you can correct me if I'm wrong there, Kyle. You know what other people are making, but 250
And they work.
But right, and that's the thing. Yeah, and so these would be great if they're at like BP stations. I don't know. Do we know whether they're going to be at standalone like places, or because like you said, Martin, if regular like gasoline car drivers see them at the stations, it kind of just raises their level of awareness.
Yeah, BP have also talked about creating some sort of like these hubs and stuff in the US that'll be just. That was a previous announcement they made. They'll be putting these into those, and also on their own land where they at the minute pump gas.
Yeah.
Okay.
The nearest BP station to where I live is on the map for having. They're going to be installing chargers there. They don't give a time frame or whatever, but it's all part of the Inflation Reduction Act. They got some of that chunk of money, so I'm assuming this is what we're going to see there, which would be really cool.
Yeah, and there's a limit on NEVI funding per company. So Tesla will probably they'll bump up against their NEVI funding limit, and then other car companies can come in, buy the Tesla hardware, or other companies rather can come in like BP, purchase Tesla hardware, then they can go up against their NEVI funding limit, and that just gets more superchargers on the roads. This is a brilliant piece of news. I'm not forgiving oil companies for what they do. Yes, all very aware, very aware. I think this is the first little chink of the door opening. I think we're going to see Tesla as a big provider of hardware.
I think this is like 1/10 of what I'd like to see BP do as far as like
Well,
spend.
yeah,
like
look,
$1
it's
billion
a toe in the
is like
water.
nothing. Like
It's
10
absolutely
billion
a toe in the water. The
would be,
key is software. The key is always software, though, because the hardware, I'm not saying it's easy to make, but if you can get the software right, and they say it's going to come with plug and charge as well, that you just turn up, you navigate. So if other car companies can integrate a portion of Tesla's software into their navs and navigate to a supercharger and have half the experience that Tesla drivers have, then everyone's onto a winner.
yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts, Kyle, on the BP deal here?
Oh, so many. I don't think I could squeeze them into an hour if I tried, to be honest. Yeah, this is huge news. What it really does is it levels the playing field now between Tesla as a network operator and a hardware manufacturer, between them and others. The thing is, Tesla's at an inherent advantage because they make their chargers. Everyone looks at the numbers and goes, "Oh, it costs Tesla no money to install superchargers versus other stations." It'll be interesting to see when we first start seeing the installation, sort of grant request numbers for those installing Tesla hardware with how much those installs are going to cost. My guess is a lot more than what people think it actually costs to install a supercharger, because they're now going to be selling them at retail rates. And what it means is we will have a solid, reliable, easily deployable charging solution across North America for all to have access to. Maybe not all to have access to cheaply like Tesla, but all to at least have access to, which is what we've been needing. And so I think this, in combination with Alpitronic launching in the US, with ChemPower coming to the US now, with some of the newest generation ABB stuff like Terra 360 and some other units like that, plus some Autel units that we're starting to see some of their high power stuff coming, we might actually have much better overall infrastructure to put in the ground. Because step one is putting stuff in the ground that will continue to work, which whatever we've put into the ground up to this point, other than superchargers, just hasn't. Then it becomes, how do you make money? How do you service it? How do you do all these things that are easily runnable into the future? And now if you have units that work, we can have those conversations. So this is massive news. Certainly it's not the first time they've sold superchargers, because there have been fleets that have had their own private superchargers, like taxi services in Ontario or in Quebec, was it? Other places similar to that. But it's the first time they'll be for public network installations. So I just think this is absolutely great news.
Gary Bushy made a great point too. I wonder if BP went to Tesla. Oh no, not that. I was talking about where. Oh, it's this one here. And if the second, will we see more oil companies jumping on the bandwagon? So right, this is like it could be seen as like a shot across the bow to other, BP staking out. Okay, we see some future business here. What about the other energy companies? Like selling energy is kind of like their thing, right?
I think they've all had their look at, sorry, Tom. I think they've all had their look at EV charging and other ways to expand their business. Right now, EV charging isn't the easiest thing to do. In fact, it's really hard to do it's really hard to do with high quality. And there's not much of a business case right there. So other companies might be looking at them laughing. And to be honest, we don't know the outcome. We don't know what these superchargers cost. We truly don't know what the maintenance requirements will be. Part of Tesla's magic is they have their own internal Tesla supercharging service team. Will they get access to those with this deal? Will they have to pay for access with this deal? There's still a lot of unknowns. And but the good news is the hardware is solid and well sorted. And I think other companies should at least consider going with one of these higher quality charging solutions when they build out their networks.
I wonder if these chargers, they're the V4 chargers, but I wonder if they're capable of the 1,000-volt, 500 amp or more kind of power
Yes, I was
levels
just
that we
out of
expect to see
V4.
from Tesla in the future.
I was just out of V4 a couple hours ago,
Right.
and they're still hooked up. It was at this one in Cologne, Germany, and they're still hooked up to V3 cabinets.
Okay.
And I'm actually on my way to the Netherlands, of course, to charge on the V4 that's turned on. In Germany, I think they're not approved for use yet. So there's a few, maybe 5 or 6 installed, but they just haven't been switched on because I think there's a meter calibration situation that has to happen that maybe Tesla didn't know about, or this was the plan. Nope, we don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're all hooked up to V3 cabinets, like you're saying, Dom. So in the future, I expect to see a version 4 charger, not just a dispenser. And I would imagine all of these deals are based around the new V4 hardware, I think, because it's not like one of these is getting installed tomorrow. I think
Right.
it's all going to be the new charger plus the dispenser, as that's going to be the unit to go forwards.
Because I could see where Tesla might keep like the V4, like the big stuff, like almost megawatt worth of charging for itself, and like sell V3 kind of level 250 kilowatt chargers to other retailers.
Yeah, or they could have it as an option. They say, do you want low power, medium power? They remember Tesla used to do the urban supercharger thing. Like, there's a
True.
case for charging from 1 kilowatt to 1,000 kilowatts. It just depends, or even more if we start getting into MCS going up to 3 megawatt charging. There's a business case to be made for all levels of charging to fit all different ideas, and I think Tesla is going to be there for the majority of those markets. I think they'll have the MCS solutions for their Cybertruck chargers that they're definitely going to sell to Flying J and Loves and all of these to install for drivers. Of course, this is just the beginning of that. So I think they'll have the high power market covered. They'll have the medium power for passenger vehicles, which I think V4 certainly serves the passenger vehicle space for the next 5 to 10 years easily. And then maybe they'll even go back in time and spin up the old V2 stuff and get urban chargers out. Who knows?
Yep. All right, so we have to go here in a second. I just wanted to say this is kind of a good piece of news I saw this week. Volvo Cars to build EX30 in the small SUV in Ghent as part of global production capacity boost. So Ghent is in Belgium in Europe, so they can ship Volvos from Europe to the US without and get around the Chinese tariff, I believe. So that makes it, I don't know, it's a positive for our market. I'm a little bit surprised that they decided to do that in Europe though instead of the US. But I don't know. Anyone have a quick thought on that?
I think it's a smart move. They build C40 and XC40 in Ghent as well, but
They do?
based off of their carbon numbers, like they actually come out pretty dirty, those cars, based off of some of Volvo reports,
Okay.
compared to, I was just with
Oh.
another automaker this week that I'll be able to talk about in the future, and
Mhm.
their electric cars leave the factory with just a tiny bit higher CO2 than their combustion cars. Totally different than the Volvo story. So I was like, oh, we should do a video on this because this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Secondly, I have an EX30 on order, and Volvo messaged me this week, and I think every EX30 reservation holder, and said, we don't know exactly when your car is going to get here, but we do know it's going to be sometime in the next 24 months. And again, I don't really have plans to buy one for myself. I just thought one of my friends would want one, but I put in a reservation. And they said you can lease a open-ended Volvo car lease now. Go there, get an XC40 or a C40 recharge, and then when your EX30 comes in, we'll just end your lease at that time, no penalties, and you can switch into the new car. So if you need a car now, we'll give you full flexibility until your new one comes. I thought that was such a genius idea.
That's pretty nice. Yeah. It's good, like customer service, but also a good business practice as well.
Absolutely. And I have a reservation for one also. And I was deciding whether or not that was going to end up my driveway or possibly an Equinox EV. And now with the delays to the Equinox, it looks like more than likely I'll probably go through with the EX30. And that would be my choice. I thought it was great when we saw it at the initial reveal. I haven't driven it yet. I didn't have an opportunity to go to the first drive event. I was busy doing something else, but I think that's going to end up my driveway. I think we're going to get one. I think that's going to be our smaller kind of runaround car. But I don't expect it. I don't expect it for at least another year. So a lot can happen.
Yeah, totally. One year to maybe a year and a half, something like that. I think is reasonable. But such a cool car, high quality, the right size for being a small runabout. great performance, NACS port. Also, some of the rumors I'm hearing just from friends that work at Volvo or whatever, like they're really trying to get NACS on the car at launch. I don't know if that's true or not, or how, if that's going to happen, but I know they're really aggressive on this whole idea. So I don't know if that means they're going to hold up the car for even an extra couple months. So
Well,
it's
I mean,
not
they were,
entirely done, but yeah, we'll see.
I mean, initially they were talking late summer 2024.
Yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, a couple of months, if you hold on for a couple of months, it's a 2025 model year. If they can get the engineering all worked out, that would make a lot of sense. And that might be part of the reason why they're sending this out now. They might have made a conscious decision to say, we're going to kick the car down the road 6 more months before we launch it. And right from day one, it's going to get launched with NACS. So that makes sense.
Well, I'm pretty excited about this car and I like it, but we're going to have to talk about it again on the future show because I think this brings us to the end of this show. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on Twitter, where we are Batteries Inc. Pod, or on Threads, where we are Batteries Included Podcast. You can also follow Martin on Twitter or Threads at EV News Daily. On Twitter, Tom is at Tomolog, that's with 2 M's, and Tom Malogny on Threads. I'm Dominic on Threads and in real life. Kyle is at It's Kyle Connor on Twitter and goes by Virtual Kyle on Threads when he shows up there one day. Don't forget, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, and tap that bell icon for notifications because we're going to have upcoming shows that you're going to want to listen to next week, maybe a couple. So yeah, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. Thank you all very much for joining us. We appreciate it. It's great having you here with us, and we'll see you again very soon. Ciao.